Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 51 of the No Reservations podcast. My name is Kasey Anton. I am your host. I am, what else am I? I am the author of Profit First for Restaurants. I'm the owner of Spark Business Consulting. And what else do I do? I don't know. Who cares? I do a bunch of stuff. So, fun fact, as they say, I attempted to record this episode yesterday and 55 minutes in, and the podcast software decided to stop working and kicked me out, which was, at the end of the day, 55 minutes. So I didn't realize I was talking that much. So here's the thing. It's available if you want it. We're not going to put it out there because my promise-ish to you is that I keep these under 30 minutes, preferably right around 20 minutes. So they're bite-sized, car ride sized. Maybe you don't get too bored. I don't blather on about nothingness, and you get something out of these. And that's usually the number one feedback that I get, which is lovely, which is, oh, I listen to your podcast because it's great. I always get something out of it, or almost always, So 55 minutes might have been too long, and I have it. If you want to hear all the details I was talking about, it's just going to abruptly end. So I'm going to keep this one short and sweet-ish, our usual time. The three biggest leaks that we find in restaurants are going to come as no surprise to you at all if you've been in this industry for any amount of time. But how we can go about plugging up these leaks, I might give you a few new ideas. Nothing that's rocket science, maybe just a good reminder, or maybe it is a new idea for you. Who knows? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to dive right in. So as you can imagine, the three biggest cost leaks are going to be your prime costs. That's two, right? So prime costs consist of food and beverage. I'm going to lump those together for the purposes of this podcast. So we have your food and beverage costs and your labor costs. Those are your prime costs for your restaurant. So that's two costs which are constantly leaking. They're also your biggest and only cost centers. So it's imperative to dial those in and get those running correctly. And the third one is going to be occupancy. And there's not a whole lot you usually can do to lower your occupancy. And so we're going to touch on that, but I actually I bring that up because I want you to look at it from a different perspective. And that's what we're really going to talk about today is looking at these things. These are going to be your three biggest cost centers, most likely, and the three opportunities for leaks and profit, but we're talking about leaks today as well. And I might just give you another way to look at it, or a new way, or maybe you haven't even thought about this because you're so busy, you're worried about something else going on in your business or 50,000 other things going on that you don't really have time to focus on. So we're going to go back to basics a little bit. I'm going to bring up some things that have been happening in our world with the 80 plus restaurants we work with and how we're able to help them and learn from them as well and help them. So that's what we're going to talk about. All right. So food and beverage costs. Here's the thing. You should already know what your business model is. And by knowing your business model, it means I run this for my food costs when everything goes well, which is almost never, but I mean, at least that's your anchor point, right? So I should be running 30% for food. I'm making these up. Your model could be whatever it is, but you could say 30% for food or combined food and beverage, 30%, 35%, whatever for labor, and my occupancy is 15%. And the rest is going to go to, profit and OpEx, maybe owner's pay, depending on how you do it, etc. So if you say, for example, I run a 30% food costs, and then you have fantastic books done, which you absolutely should. And if you're running a business and you don't, that's insanity. You're definitely losing money and leaving money on the table. But if you're running, if you have a great bookkeeper, your numbers are sharp, and you're running at, and you believe it's 30%, that's what your model's built on, and it's coming back to you at 32, 33%, that's your flag. That's an issue. It's a small one, but it's still an issue. It means that you need to focus. It should pull your attention. Oh, I need to focus on that. And of course, as I said in a million other podcasts and whatever you might have heard me on is, of course, you could, the easiest way is to raise menu prices. And I'm not suggesting you do that unless you haven't done that in a while, then maybe you should. But in order to shave 2 or 3 points, there's a few different ways we can come at that. It just should not be ignored. So I think the point for this episode is really to make sure you know what your food cost should be, for example, and you are getting an accurate cost either every week. It's kind of hard to do every week. You can actually get a rough idea weekly, but when the month is closed, and you want to make sure your month is closed fairly soon after the end of the month. So I'm talking in March now, then hopefully before April 8th or April 10th, you're going to have your March numbers. And you should know, okay, what was my food cost for February or for March? And if it's running high, know that you need to spend some time on that. It could be menu pricing. Maybe that's the easy one. So I wouldn't necessarily go right there again, unless you have not raised prices in forever, then go there. It could be an inventory issue. I was just doing a Loom video for another client of ours where his food cost, considering he does mainly pizzas, was running really high. And I said, but I don't get an inventory number. So if we're sitting on a ton of flour and a ton of inventory, I need to know that so I can back it out and show you what your real food cost is. So inventory is so incredibly important in our restaurant business, in retail too, but in restaurants, you need the inventory. It drastically will affect your cost. So you need that. And you should have that for ordering too, but we want it for cost. So it could be an inventory issue. If it's not those things, it could be a loss issue. It could be things are getting burned, spilled, thrown away. That's a training issue possibly. That's what I mean by there are so many different ways to look at it, but the key indicator is, you should be running 30 and you're running 32 or 33. Focus, get that number down. And you could do that in so many different ways. And I have other episodes where I go into that, how to do that, whether you raise prices, you cut serving size, you take off lost liters. Listen to another episode if you really want to know all the different ways you can do that. But this is about discovering the leaks and then going about fixing them. So that's for food costs. Very, very similar for your beverage costs. Now, first off, if you have a full liquor license, you want to divide those up. So if you have a full liquor license, you're going to have liquor. That's going to be, your cocktails, wine, glass and bottled, beer, possibly draft and bottled, and a beverage, non-alcoholic beverages. Depending on your restaurant, you might want to break out bottled water if that's a decent piece and you want to make sure that you're not losing money on bottled water. You could break out coffee service, which again, I think I have more than one episode on how I think people are just not restaurants, not people, but whatever, are leaving money on the table by not offering a coffee service. I think it's insane not to do that because they can be such high profit margin. Not only that, and that is number one, that there's an insanely high profit margin, but it's a great way to possibly end a meal that's going to be memorable, that's going to keep you front of mind to the guests that engage in it. I just think it's insane not to. What I mean by that, and I'm going to go short because I have a whole, a past episode entirely about this, but have a separate, maybe, you probably can't see me. You could if you're watching this on YouTube, but maybe like a cardstock 5x7 heavy cardstock designed menu that you go get printed at Staples, or hopefully you have a local printer you can use. Maybe you get 30 or 40 of them made and try it out. Just list the freaking coffees. You have coffee, put it on there, $3.50 a cup. I'm guessing tea. Do you have a variety of teas? Maybe assorted teas, whatever. Cappuccinos, lattes. If you don't, no problem, leave them off. But if you have them, put them on there. Maybe throw an espresso martini on there if you happen to have that. But just having that extra cute little cardstock menu that you can just drop on the table, or better yet, have your bartenders and servers hand sell. Hey, especially if it's new. Hey, we have this new menu. We offer some really great coffees. However you want to sell it, you sell it, but just have it available. So now there's a big difference between training your servers to ask, any coffee or tea tonight? Because I get that all the time. I get that, whenever I go to a halfway decent restaurant, I just get, oh, coffee tonight. That's not a selling point to me. That's like an annoying thing. It's not. No, no. I hate that. I mean, it's certainly better than here's your check without asking for anything else. But coffee tonight, no. Give them a menu. It's going to cost you what, $40 to have these menus printed, and then drop it down without even saying, hey, we have this after dinner drink, coffee menu, dessert menu. You can put it all in one if you want. We make some pretty great coffees here. Even if that's not true, you could still have the server say that we actually have a really great espresso. We have a really great cappuccino if you're in the mood for some caffeine tonight or today, whatever. Put that down. I think having the printed menu, acutely designed, so easy to do on Canva for free, menu, that alone allows you to raise your prices on those, if you ask me. It does. Another selling point to this is possibly investing in some new cupware, glassware for your dessert beverage program. That's not a lot of money either, but I'm just saying, I love a cup and saucer. And I'm a coffee drinker, which you don't often get that. But in the very rare circumstances where I go somewhere, and I usually almost never order coffee after dinner, like never. I don't remember the last time I've done that. It's been so long. But I'm telling you, if I see someone else with a cup and saucer, I'm probably just going to order it just because I love that aesthetic. And I know I'm not alone. I'm a little nutty, but I'm not alone. So maybe invest in a dozen to start, cups and saucers. You could put the rock candy on a stick. You know what I'm talking about? The crystallized rock candy can just be, an extra little thing. Maybe you throw in one biscotti that's going to cost you nearly nothing to put on there, and then you don't even tell them, just add it on there as like a garnishment to their coffee, their latte, their tea, whatever. You're going to win fans. It's going to cost you nearly nothing, and you're going to get a lot of fans. So anyway, my whole point, I'm going off on a tangent. My whole point is, if your NA beverage is high cost, these are some great ways to get that cost down. The only way to know that is if you separate it out. The same with your sodas, your bottled water. Another great way to get that NA beverage down is to have a mocktail menu. I won't even get started because you know how much I love a mocktail menu. They have such huge profit margins. Definitely invest in some glassware for that. That's a great way to control that easily, and you can implement it almost immediately. So I love that. Liquor, easy. Wine, if your wine is running high, it could be an inventory issue. So definitely want to make sure that you tighten up how you store wine if that's running high for you. That would be the first place I would go. Also look at your pricing. Also look at your vendor invoices to make sure that one of your house wines, one of your wines by the glass, or even a popular bottled wine didn't all of a sudden go up a couple bucks on from your vendor and they just didn't tell you. Because they might tell you things here and there, but maybe they forgot to tell you that one, and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, I thought I was getting that for $12, and now all of a sudden it's 15. That's gonna hit you, but you wouldn't know if you're not looking at your wine costs. So have these separated out. As a matter of fact, this morning I was in a set of books for a client that I consult with, and I just went ahead and went in there, and I don't even do the books for this client. I'm just consulting with them, and I created all the custom reports, because you can do that in QuickBooks. You can probably do it in any software or any decent software. And I created custom reports, which were just food cost, liquor costs, wine costs, draft beer costs, bottled beer costs, NA beverage, coffee. So easy. Took me 20 minutes to create them. And now at the touch of a button, a few clicks, he can actually see where he's at with each one of these. It's just so much clarity, and it tells you exactly what you need to go fix. So that takes care of food and beverage. Labor, again, with the same client this morning, he did great in January with his labor costs. Not, good. I wouldn't say great. He did good. We're working on getting it down, as I am with almost every single one of my clients. February, all of a sudden, it's through the roof again. So simple enough. We know what his target is. We know what he's been running. So for example, we say, listen, you need to be running at 35% all in labor. You've been running at 40, let's say. If January came in at 37, then I know we're going in the right direction. I may not necessarily say you need to spend time in there, because it's going in the right direction. And I would just point that out. Hey, it looks like we're moving in the right direction. Keep up what you're doing. We need to go down another 2 points. However, in February, when it comes out at 43% labor, and I know that we were getting it down to 38, now we have a problem again. So when it comes to labor, and I had said this in a video to him, listen, labor jumped way up. I know the sales are a little bit lower, but it shouldn't have jumped up this much. Plus, if sales are down, you should be sending staff home anyway. So it should actually help mitigate that labor cost. Something's going on here. So what do? I said, we have it. The labor for this company, it's a brewery, restaurant, etc. We have broken out and it's some detail. So he can see the pizza prep, the pizza makers, the brewers, the bartenders, the hosts, the food runners. Like we really have it down and we can look across the board like, okay, what were they in December, January, February? And we can kind of look at, okay, what month did we have this controlled? Why did all of a sudden we need a ton more pizza prep when we didn't sell as many pizzas as the prior month when it was lower? Just different ways to look at that. Again, not rocket science, but knowing, hey, I need to get my labor down. Oh, I got it down to 37, 38 the month before. I'm in the right direction. Okay, I'm going to keep doing it. Oh, it's at 43. What? Now we dive in. We go back to now we dive in. What happened? Where did we go wrong? Were people just milking the clock? What is it? Maybe it was PTO? I don't know, but that's where you need to spend your time. Lastly, occupancy. Usually the third largest item on a P&L for a restaurant is occupancy. Not a whole lot you can do there, right? So occupancy is going to be rent or possibly a mortgage payment, usually rent. It's going to be utilities. It's going to be repairs and maintenance on the building, security, internet that would fall under utilities, pest control could be under utilities, and possibly CAM fees, common area maintenance, trash removal, grease trap, whatever. All that's kind of under occupancy, is kind of the shell of your business and what it costs to run the shell. And because this is a fairly consistent number, barring any major repairs or maintenance on the building, that's not on equipment, that should be separate, so just on the building, it should be pretty consistent over time, right? Rent doesn't change that much, unless you're percentage rent, but still, it usually stays the same. So if hey, I run, I'm a 10% occupancy, which would be great. That's usually the goal, 10%, great. And all of a sudden it goes to 15% and the sales didn't drop that much. Then you want to dive in there. Okay, what was it? Utilities. Did utilities double? All right, let's take a look. There's not a ton you can do about your utilities other than make sure that your equipment is running efficiently, changing filters whenever you can. You should be on a maintenance program with a local company that does maintenance on the different equipment and your HVAC, et cetera, because that will save you money. And usually those are not very costly. They come out quarterly. They just make sure everything's in tip-top shape. They'll let you know ahead of time, hey, this thing's on its last legs. And if you know that you're going to need to replace a big piece of equipment over time, like set up a separate account and start putting some money over there so that when it actually finally does bust a gut, you have some money set aside to buy a new one. That's a good little piece of advice there. So there's not a whole lot you can do other than those things. Just make sure like you're not running crazy AC, that you set it to a proper temperature when you're closed, the same with the heating, etc. But here's my whole point on that. If you find yourself, maybe you're kind of new, maybe your restaurant's been around for 6 months, a year, 2 years, which is all considered new. And if all of a sudden you're running at 16, 18% occupancy because your sales just aren't where you thought they were going to be, you kind of have to accept that, right? Unless you go back to your landlord and renegotiate the lease, but I don't see that often happening. That'd be great, but I doubt that's going to happen. So if you need to accept, listen, my predictions were built on these sales and a 10% occupancy. I'm not making those sales, but I am making these sales. But it just means that my occupancy is going to be around 16%. Okay, this is good knowledge to have, but that's 6 extra points from 10% to 16% occupancy. You need to find that savings somewhere else. You can't just shrug and be like, well, that kind of sucks, but oh well. No, that's actual money out the door. That's a massive leak. And now that we know we have that leak and that we have to suck it up and be like, okay, I'm going to be running about a 15-16% occupancy, you got to go find that somewhere else on your P&L. It could be a combination of shaving 3 points off of your food and beverage and 3 points off of your labor, that's the 6% right there. Maybe it's 4 and 2 up there. Somewhere you need to find it. So one of the biggest mistakes I see, especially when clients first come on with us and we're wrapping our arms around their business and looking at the story the P&L is telling us and, get it cleaned up. They're like, oh yeah, well, I thought I was going to do, 150 a month and we're only doing, 120, 125. So therefore occupancy, oh, well, it sucks. That's not going to pay the bill. That's going to put you in some debt. You need to change the model and find that money somewhere else. That's how you plug that leak, because unless you can renegotiate the lease, but what are the chances of that? All right, so that is it for today. I'm at 20 minutes now. We have a wonderful download worksheet for you if you want it. I love our worksheets. I think we do a great job that comes with this episode. So you can go into this episode and somewhere in there, you download the worksheet, and it just helps you kind of walk through where to look for and find the leaks in your restaurant, and offers up some ways to plug those leaks up and run toward a very healthy, profitable business. That is the end of this episode. As always, thank you so much for watching, or listening, or both. Please, please, please like, share, leave a review if you can. But I think mostly you just give me 5 stars would be amazing. Give me 4 if you think I deserve it. That's fine. Not 3. No, I'll give me 3. 5 stars on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts goes a really long way. I would really, 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 really appreciate it. And if you ever need anything or want to reach out to me directly, you are more than welcome to. The easiest way to get in touch with me is usually through our website, because you can email me right through there. It comes right to me. That's sparkbusinessconsulting.com, or find us on social medias at Spark Business Consulting. Thanks again.